Good evening, friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu and Businessline editorial analysis on June 4th, 2022. So let us begin our Canterbury pilgrim journey, my dear friends, to the pilgrimage to the world of knowledge. The first, I am going to take up articles from the Hindu. The first editorial to be discussed is Control and Delete. This article discusses the setting up of a committee and appellate tribunal by the government of India to interfere with the content moderation of the social media platforms. The social media platforms have a grievance officer, someone who is aggrieved with the kind of being a kind of operations in a social media platform can complain to the grievance officer of a social media, and the social media's grievance officer will look into it and make the content moderation. And the government wants to set up a appellate tribunal, one or more appellate tribunals to look into the content moderation decisions by the grievance officer of the social media platform, and the government is going to intervene. This is a kind of agenda. The article says that the government should not promote. Why? Because the government's idea is to make a safe, open, and very effective internet for its users. The IT Rules Amendments of 2021 suggested the content moderation should be looked into by the government by way of forming a committee or appellate tribunal. The government is going ahead with its plan. So, the article, the editorial says that this kind of thing is not encouraged. The government must stop poking its nose on the content moderation by the media platform. The second editorial I am going to discuss is the gradual disengagement. This has reference to India's relations with the Afghanistan ruling Taliban. The article says that in the 1990s, government was very much reluctant to engage with Afghanistan. Back then in 1990s, the Afghanistan was being controlled by Taliban, and the Taliban had separatist agenda and the terrorism agenda. The Taliban-backed terrorists were inflicting lots of damages to the neighboring countries, including India. Hence, the government did not want to engage with Afghanistan then. But now the government is increasingly having some kind of plans for Afghanistan and is trying to engage with Afghanistan. The recent meetings in Doha between the External Affairs Secretary and the Afghani representative represents that India is interested in engaging with Afghanistan. India is also sending some kinds of relief materials to Afghanistan via Pakistan, and therefore the engagement is being seriously looked into. The article says that there are three reasons for India's engagement with Afghanistan now. First, it has invested billions of rupees in Afghanistan, which it doesn't want to waste. So the investment oriented business must go on in Afghanistan. The second reason is that the India fears that if the distance with Afghanistan is maintained at this level, it will pave the way for terrorist attacks in Kashmir. So the government does not want to Afghanistan-based jihadists operating in Kashmir. Therefore, India wants to engage with Afghanistan to ease the tension. And third is that India doesn't want Afghanistan ruling Taliban to be a satellite for Pakistan. Hence, for these three reasons, India now wants to engage with the Taliban. Therefore, the India's efforts are being made in this front, and the government is trying seriously on this. The next article is titled "The Dark Side to Domesticity in Tamil Nadu." Domesticity means the women in Tamil Nadu are still controlled by the household. The male dominated society, the patriarchal society in Tamil Nadu is making all types of decisions for the women in the society. The household decisions are influencing the women of Tamil Nadu, is what the article is going on to say. The article says that though the education and the culture and the advancement has made so many kinds of changes in the life of women in Tamil Nadu, still the patriarchy and the male dominated controls are being inflicted on the women in Tamil Nadu, so that the whatever decisions the women take in Tamil Nadu are being controlled by the family members, and they are not left free to decide on their own. This article shows so many data, and the enrollment ratio of women into colleges and higher education is 49%, whereas the male it is lesser. So, but the women are not having any free decision making with regard to their career. The article says the misogyny is being practiced in Tamil Nadu. Misogyny means hatred towards women. This kind of practice is being followed in Tamil Nadu. They are not left for free choices. Higher educations in for women in Tamil Nadu is only the family choice, which increases the status of women in the society, and for the matrimony opportunities also increase for them if they are highly educated. It is only for the limited purpose the women are being educated in Tamil Nadu. The career choice is also being made by the family members, and the family dictates what career the woman should select. This is a very long article going on, showing lots of data and facts and figures. Kindly go through the article, my dear friends. You will have a peer view of the kind of atrocities being met for women in Tamil Nadu, and it has to improve. Though Tamil Nadu has been advancing in many areas in education and cultural fronts, and having a rich cultural backing, the women are not being given the free choice, is what the article is. The next article is New India needs free and quality education for its students. What does this article say about? The article begins by showing the example of a New York University's medical college, where the scholarship or the free and quality education is provided to the medicine PG students. The sponsor of this free and quality education in the New York University's Medical College, Kenneth G. Langone. Kenneth G. Langone has promised $100 million for the New York Grossman School of Medicine, where the students will be provided free and quality MD education. This is a very interesting point. The article goes on to point the examples in Nordic countries. Nordic countries are the Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, and then the Nordic countries do not charge fees for their students for higher education, and even for the overseas students who study in Nordic countries, they do not charge any kind of fees. The article says that the Nordic countries are very much higher up in the happiness index, where Finland tops the happiness index among the nations of the world. Denmark comes at number 2, and Iceland comes at number 4. So many Nordic countries are ensuring free and quality education, higher education for the students studying there, and even for overseas students. The article goes on to say that where the education, higher education has become just for the sake of business, for earning revenues, the quality education is being only given to those who can afford it. For example, a poor student may be very much intelligent and brilliant to become a doctor or an MBA or a very big engineer, but he is not getting opportunity to study in colleges. The professional colleges are only for rich people. Even the intelligence is not enough. The rich people who are having intelligence can only become doctors and engineers. The poor people who have intelligence can opt for some arts and science courses which are not very much costly. This is the disparity which is being seen in India. And when the professional qualified students qualify as doctors and engineers. They just work for the money and just go on getting the professional incomes maximum, and the service is ever forgotten. So this disparity is being seen in India, but the Nordic countries are way ahead us in ensuring the free and quality education for its students, so we can find better professionals working there and better services are being offered. Service only comes from the kind of quality and free education being provided to higher education students. If you do not provide quality and free education to higher education fronts, it will compromise the service. Definitely is what the article is. Friends, now let us discuss the editorials from the business line. The first editorial I am going to discuss is level playing field. It the article discusses the level playing field is not being given to G33 countries, where India, China, and Indonesia are included. The what is the idea about? The idea is about the developed world is insisting upon reducing the subsidy of subsidy being provided to agriculturists on inputs and the grains. The developed world is having a very old index way back to 1964, on which they say that only 10% of this benchmark can be breached. India, China, and Indonesia have placed their woes at the WTO. India, China, and Indonesia wants a public stockholding is finalized at the WTO by the developed nations, and then we will have our own say on the public stockholding of food grains. And the subsidies being offered in India is not much. The developed world shows most of its pressure upon the developing world like India, China, and Indonesia, and the G33 countries. G33 countries also include the African and the American countries. Some of the countries who are importing the food grains have accepted to the WTO norms, so that they will get the hassle free grains from the food exporters. The food exporters are catering to the needs of developed world as well as to the other G33 countries. The G33 countries, there are some importers and there are some exporters. India is saying that it cannot reduce its subsidy. The subsidy is being given for the minimum administered price for the help of the agriculturists. The farmers should get their rewards. Hence, it is not feasible for reducing this subsidy, so that subsidy on input costs on agriculture. Input costs are like the fertilizers, the seeds, and the like. So the input costs are being provided at a subsidized price in India, and the food grains are also fixed at administrative prices. The developed world always masks their policies. They provide some support to the farmers is not revealed by them. They just pressurize the India, China, and Indonesia kind of countries who are food exporters to reduce their subsidies in the food grains, so that they will get maximum supplies and at a very greater price and a very remunerative price for the developed world. This is kind of thing which must stop. The final say on the public procurement policy, the stock procurement policy, must be spelled out in the next meeting, is what the article is all about. The next article is titled India's Water Security. The article begins by saying that the Food and Agricultural Organization has warned that two-thirds of the world population will face the water shortage by 2025. The article goes on to analyze how much water is available in India. It is 1,100 billion cubic meters. That is, this much water is available in India. However, currently the water consumption is 1,093 billion cubic meters. So, and it will increase to 1,400 billion cubic meters by 2000. Look, this is a kind of danger lurking. That is, India's water resources, that is, a supply, will come a lot lower than the water demand. The water demand will be 1,400 billion cubic meters by 2050, and the water resources available is 1,100 billion cubic meters. The article discusses Falcon Mark's water index, where the cubic per cubic meter per capita is 1700 cubic meters or less per annum. There is water. If Falcon Mark's meter is taken into account, around 76% of India's population is reeling under water scarcity. The article says that around 11 river basins are facing serious water scarcity at present. The article says that presently agriculture consumes more water, but in the future the industrial demands and the production of electricity will be increasing and the agricultural water needs will be decreasing. So, this composition is being discussed in the article. The change of composition from the present times to the future times is discussed. It is usually known, and the article discusses that there are only two ways of saving the water, solving the water scarcity. That is to increase the water supply and to save. Constructing dams is one solution, but the article says that already 85% of the irrigation capacity of India has been covered through dams, and further development is not possible because that will have ecological imbalances and many other problems may. So the article is zeroing in on increasing the water efficiency. How the water efficiency can be increased by using sprinklers instead of using sprinklers instead of the conventional methods of irrigation is the only way out. Thereby, the acreage of the irrigation farms will be irrigated properly, and also the water shortage will be wiped. The next article is It is possible to drive growth amid inflation. The article is a very beautiful article. It discusses inflation, the recent the Monetary Policy Committee's decision to rein in inflation and raising of repo rates, and the article goes on to show how much each sector has contributed to the growth. The growth has reached 4.1% in quarter 4. The article says that low base effects have shown the growth above 5% in quarter 1 and 2, and the 3 and 4 the growth is lesser because at around 5% because the base effect, the COVID time base effect is not available for the quarter 3 and 4. The quarter 1 and 2 has that advantage because the corresponding quarters of the previous year where COVID affected lockdowns, and therefore the base is negative. The negative base effect has made it possible to show a kind of growth above 5% in quarter 1 and 2. The article says that the tax revenues, the gross tax revenues are going to contribute the country's growth. That is, the tax revenues will be having a 33% tax revenue growth. The buoyancy will help. The tax buoyancy will help to get maximum tax revenues out of the nominal growth rate of 19.5%. The tax revenues, non-tax revenues are going to help units. Disinvestment will bring some money for the government. The article is discussing ways and means to achieve the 7% growth target in 2022-23. That is, the article is suggesting with the tax revenues are coming and the PSU disinvestment monies are coming, and the revenue will be very much solid, and some non-tax revenues are also coming from the budget estimates. Then the article is suggesting reducing expenditure will be the key to sustaining the growth. The fiscal deficit must be maintained at 6.4 percentage. The fiscal deficit should not be filled up now, so that the growth target of 7 percentage is still possible, is what the article is all about. My dear friends, let me conclude for the day. Hope I have discussed most of the topics covered in the business line and the Hindu editorials, and I will come tomorrow with some more articles appearing in tomorrow's Hindu and the business line. I hope you are enjoying this pilgrimage.